everything.
Mind being on and off cameras because hopefully I'm not hiding anything. And when we started the conversation,
neither am I.
I did no, I don't know, but I did get the sense that maybe either you or the gentleman thought I was maybe hiding something, or maybe I wasn't being forthcoming with my opinions or something. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
my first start.
I think you would agree with me.
I like when people start that way. I like it.
What?
I think you agree with me. That's a good one. I like it.
Well,
because the person might not. But go ahead.
What I'm going to say is highly logical.
Go ahead.
And it's self-evident also.
I hope so.
I think you will agree with me.
Very good.
Nobody is entirely transparent.
Yes.
Nobody shows exactly what they think and feel about everything. So what you're saying is not right.
Okay.
You're saying I'm completely open. I'm completely open. You're not. Neither am I.
Okay. Well,
so it's not right.
Okay. So but maybe what I say could be interpreted as hyperbole if you say that completely, right? Because no one's completely anything. But what I would rather people say is ask a question, and this is a question I pose, like, do you have issue with me? And that's the question. Now, the individual over there, he never asked that question. He came in, he told me what I was and what I wasn't, and why I don't like him and people like him. And me and him could sit down and play Mortal Kombat 4. We could eat vegan food.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, possibly, right? But he hasn't started the conversation with this energy, right? So what I'm saying is, rather than assume, ask questions, isn't it? If you feel that there's something I'm doing that's harmful,
I always ask questions.
I'm not saying you're not, but I'm just, it's universal talk now. I'm saying if you feel that I might be practicing some kind of deception or something that might cause harm or anything that's just, uneasy, ask me the question. And I try to be like.
Oh, we've already covered that.
The reason why the gentleman is somewhat on edge is because I'm truthful. Because I tell people things as I see it. Now, if what I'm saying I believe is wrong, I would change. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's disputable.
Of course.
Not because of you as a man, because of people and their nature.
Right.
People changing their views radically, instantaneously, when coming across something that contradicts their worldview is an extremely rare
I became
occurrence.
vegetarian overnight because of hearing some information.
All right, fair.
I stopped eating pork 20 years ago because of information.
Sure, but you understand what I'm saying. I'm talking about when you encounter something that might change the way you look at the entire world. Take religion, for example. People outright reject it without thought instantaneously. It's the most common response. It's for me, for you, for all people. It's very hard to go against that. So again, your statement's not, I don't agree with it. Saying like, if you say something like that and it's logical, I'll agree with it. I don't think you will. I mean, maybe you will, maybe you won't. Maybe I will, maybe I won't.
I don't know
right?
about
We
you,
don't know.
but I'm telling you about me.
Right, but the thing is, like, I've already laid out.
If something you say is correct,
correct is difficult to define.
So you have to understand the context and the nature of where it's coming from, right? So for example, I'm not religious at all, right? But if some religion could prove me that what they're saying was actually the truth and correct and the right way to be, if such thing can even exist, right? That's another question. Yeah, right? But then I would feel compelled to follow because I believe it to be true or correct. Yeah.
So when we're talking about the things we have in this conversation, the things I've been highlighting, because I was trying to point out inconsistencies within your worldview, which I think I've done, but you've rejected it. But other people might accept it, and that's fine. I'm not asking you to rescind or think about whatever, but I think it's important because when we're talking about the group that you have or whatever, the moving you're trying to do, I'm pointing out some things that I see that seem to me not necessary. And that seem to be counterproductive.
Okay.
And maybe you have a justification for that might be, from my perspective,
outside of your knowledge, yes.
Yes, but also might be from my perspective. I would look at it and say, well, that's just resentment. Why are you doing that? But from your perspective,
resentment towards someone else, you mean?
Possibly.
Oh, never, no.
Oh, of course. But we've mentioned numerous times in the conversation about the injustices that have been inflicted upon black people.
Right.
You can hold resentment against that. It doesn't mean it's unjustified.
Well,
but resentment still exists.
Well, I'm talking about we have a particular collective that is, you have to be of a certain background to join. Yeah, and certain people outside that might have contributed to hardships. But once again, the value of what I'm doing is people who identify a certain way, working on issues that most affect them.
But what if I identify with your issue? Like, I'm not a fan of knife crime. I'm not a fan of dangerous streets and drug problems.
Right.
Why am I not identifying with your message?
Well, first of all, the only thing I've said about knife crime and stuff, be careful if you don't kill it. The only thing I've said about knife crime that people are aware of is gang. You can join gang. The gentleman who was very passionate, he can join gang. But once again, I don't think the gentleman will. I don't know. Maybe you will. But if you were sincere, you can join it. Yeah. Once again, I've presented arguments, and so people can only talk to me about the arguments I've presented. right?
Well, sure.
I run a black betterment building group.
I've heard of this.
Yes.
And I've seen you talk about
where
it.
black people talk to other black people about black issues.
Yep.
It's a correct thing to do.
It's the correct thing to do. Is that gospel?
Well, no, but
Is that dogma?
But it's how I always present it, because I see a high value in black people taking responsibility for black issues. It's very important to me.
Right.
And
is
as a non-black person, it might make absolutely no sense.
Is there a black issue, or are there issues for people?
Well, where the issues overlap, you can make, so for example, being a drunkard, anyone can be a drunkard. So if I was a drunkard, I would join a drunkard group where you'll work on the being drunkard. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right, so that's a separate thing.
But what issues affect black people that don't affect white people, for example?
So it's like a worldview. So for example, it could be this fact that, all right, we recognize that if you live in a society, for example, where you see a whole lot of positivity in a people group that you identify with, it will rub off on you, right? And if you're in a society where you realize that most of the depictions of the people group you belong to is negative, while the other people it's more balanced, more nuanced, so you have good, bad, evil, while your people is just evil.
Do you think that's the case? Because I would love to see a catalogue list of examples of that. I really don't think that's the case. In the past, quite possibly.
Right.
In our recent history, 20 years maybe, I would say not at all, man. I'd say that's a success. Like having negative stereotypes about supposedly racial groups is a terrible thing. It's a ridiculous thing.
Right, yeah.
Just as is, deliberately putting yourself into a racial group in order to separate yourself from another people.
Well, no, it's not necessarily to separate, because it's more so to fix the issues that group goes through. I mean, every other group does it. But it's just when black people do it, it's a problem.
Fucking hell. Well, you say that, and
I don't know why these
it's a
animals
problem.
keep attacking you.
Who knows?
Do you maybe eat meat? I don't know. Who knows? Go ahead.
What?
Maybe you eat meat.
Yeah, well, I'm not a vegan. So, with the Nation of Islam, is part of the issue, because you said that you support them.
I support, yes.
That's the thing that I can't. You're not careful with your words.
No, I support them 100%. Yeah.
So you support everything they say?
No, not everything they say, but any time they make an initiative to help black people, I have to support them 100%.
Well, you need to be clear about that, because if you say you support them 100%, it implies you support them 100%.
No,
but if you mean the stuff they do to help black people in the UK that isn't explicitly
remember,
racist,
everything I do is about constructive black betterment. So if something's destructive, I can't support it.
but it's obviously from your perspective, because some things I see that's happening, I could highlight as being destructive.
Well, if you could let me know the things I'm walking towards as destructive, let me know so I can change.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Saying that people should only identify with their group, and the groups are power groups that all think alike.
I never said they all think alike.
It's implied. And if you say, well, it's only a small nuance, we had it in the conversation before the
I don't think all groups think alike. I'm saying that there's a power greater than mine that has helped marginalize and mistreat and push away black people in many areas of activity, right? I'm asking black people to come together, whether you're gay, Muslim, liberal, or whatever, to work on those issues. It makes so much sense to me. I don't understand. And it's actually a good thing. It's a very correct good thing, as I see it.
That's weird that you say that at the end. You sound like a preacher or something, or a cult preacher. Like it's the good thing, it's the right thing to do. It's like you're trying to convince yourself or something.
No.
Because it doesn't convince me.
No, but I don't need to, because you're not black. Does that make sense? It's like right now, I don't need to convince you the value in black people helping black people, because you're not black. It makes so much sense to me.
Right. Well, I suppose we obviously are coming from different viewpoints, but in my experiences in the world, and you said, of course, you've interacted with people who are not just black. You can see the value in the interactions with people as people.
And we should do, yeah. We should.
So I see you've got that separation. Is it a cognitive dissonance?
No, it's not. Let me explain. So I can make a group with 10 people, right? The group's here, 10 people, and we talk amongst ourselves and we talk about black issues. And we go, thanks guys, done. I leave. I come to your house. I play Street Fighter 2. Mario 4, we make some vegan food, and then we go and play football. What's the issue? Where's the separation? I've played football with you, I haven't played football with them.
What about...
I've had vegan food with you, I haven't eaten food with them.
Well, I can answer your question.
You most certainly can.
So, what if your friend wants to help you with those issues? You say, nope. Clearly, you say no.
Of course, 100%.
How does that make sense to you?
Because one, now I don't want to draw you in as a white person because I know you don't want to identify, but let me just call you white.
I don't see the value in the
Let
label.
me see if you see the value in the label at the moment. Some white people, by living in a society, they might not have learned how not to actually be able to be included in certain stuff. Because
what does that mean precisely?
I'll explain. So as a black person, we grew up that it's not everything is for us, meaning that there's certain societies that we just can't go. It's a historical thing. Some people of European descent, they're not necessarily used to that.
Such as? Just a quick example.
So for example, like, if you talk about colonization and slavery and so forth, when Europe was actually forming the power structure it is today, they formed in a way that, being of European descent, you had more access to many institutions, clubs.
Today?
No, historically and today.
But today, what's the restriction today?
Well,
where's the racial restriction? Where is the racial restriction today?
So a lot of it might be historical. So for example, you might find that a lot of the people who might end up governing the country all come from the same schools, all come from the same place.
So
right?
it's class and money.
Yeah, it might be that might be there as well, right? But then, like I said, you could put all these words there, but no matter what word you put, there ain't no black there. So the idea is to get black people to do more.
So you're saying that I have more in common with somebody who went to Eton from a highly privileged background that was groomed to get into power just because they apparently looked the same?
No,
absurd.
Okay, it's good if I'm not saying that. What I'm saying to you is this, right? Living in a society like this, right? You've been in a European shell. You might not face certain challenges that maybe an Asian or a black. You wouldn't know.
No, I acknowledge that. I do acknowledge that.
And that might give you opportunities, whether you know it or not. Meaning you might go for a job and you had no idea that by having a Scottish or English or Irish name, you're more likely to get a job.
Yep.
You might not know this.
This is a possibility.
It's a possibility, right?
It's a possibility.
And someone might have done the study, to be honest, right? So I'm saying
I've heard of it.
Oh yeah. It might be right, might be wrong, right?
I'm not being disingenuous.
I don't know.
But I'm saying if we want to talk about something that's highly institutionalized.
Right.
I don't think it is anymore, which is progress.
It's like this.
But anyway, my original question was something else.
About Nation of Islam?
Yeah, because then I distracted.
Jumped somewhere.
Yeah. So about the Nation of Islam, because it seems to me, and I don't know so much about them, as it's rather difficult to talk to them.
You should learn. You got Google.
I should.
Google.
But they don't give me the respect of talking to me.
Then you should ignore them and go with your own way.
Should I? But what if they have a negative agenda that negatively affects me and maybe hurts other people that I maybe don't want to be hurt?
It won't be.
It won't be. No. You can assure me of that. No, you can't.
Yeah, of course.
It's absurd. No,
they've been around for many years and they never harmed one white person. Go ahead.
Well, it depends on what you mean by harm.
Could
it be? You talk a lot about mindset, and I like talking about mindset because it's highly effective. Because it's going closer to the core of directing people's behaviour and how they look at other people, how they interact with people, how they build groups, how they form collectives.
Right.
So the mindset that could be indoctrinated via the Nation of Islam could definitely be destructive.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So my point stands. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So they won't talk to me. So and you're not a spokesman for Nation of Islam. No. So I'm not going to put that on you. But I'm saying that if somebody refused to talk to you by virtue of your birth that I didn't choose, that seems to me as abhorrent. So that's the first point that I think people shouldn't respect them for that. But in any case,
so you know. The hard challenge we have to face is sometimes people don't know the order they give off. I'm not saying to you. For example, the brother over there.
We're talking about order. We're talking about what I just said.
Hold on. Let me get there together, right?
I'll make sure I don't forget.
I've seen the Nation of Islam talk to many European people on many good topics many times, right? But I've also seen very ignorant, rude European people
approach them in a bad way,
and it's almost like they're going to be subservient. Like, even though you're mocking me, like the individual over there was quite aggressive, but yeah, I tried to show respect to him, and I wasn't getting it back, right? Now, what I'm saying is, they don't have to do that. They don't have to walk down and take abuse and go, abusers, right?
They don't have to do it.
So I've made it clear that I've seen the nation talk to Europeans very respectfully back and forth. So I'm saying, I don't know what you did I don't know, I wasn't there. Right?
You've seen most of my conversations here, and they're all the same style.
Right.
So it was like that.
Well, so I can't speak for these guys.
No, you can't, and
right?
I'm not asking you
what
to. Although we can see
if you really would
trend.
like, I can ask a nation person to speak to you about something. If it's something you really would like, and you would like to have a conversation on IC3 or whatever, I'm more than happy to facilitate if they want to. Yeah, but I can only speak for myself, and the comment that I support.
I'm not sure I would lower myself to that.
Your opinion is your opinion, isn't it?
It is.
Right? I wouldn't.
I don't hold a racially.
So once again, you want to talk to and for other people, but then when we're talking about talking, it's like I don't want to lower myself. So it's like
yeah, but I can justify it, and I'm going to justify.
It's like this individual wants to join something I'm doing.
Shall I justify my statement?
You can. Let me just do the sexy point. This individual wants to join something I'm doing, but yeah, he's insulting me as
Who?
the
other guy?
Yeah, the other guy.
So not me.
No, but I'm just making it a bit sexy.
So it's not related to me. That
well,
point.
no, it's a surrounded analogy. But go ahead.
So it's not related to me. That point.
No.
Now, the thing I was going to say to justify my statement is that I don't particularly find it valuable to maybe associate with somebody who has a racial supremacist ideology,
I don't think they've got a supremacist ideology.
No,
I don't think. I've never heard anyone say that they believe. The Nation of Islam say that they believe black people are superior to other people. I've never heard that.
but the white man's the devil, right?
Well, once again, you have to talk to them about that.
But you're obfuscating, or you're just not wanting to give it away.
Here's
Why
what
not?
it is, right? I don't use this type of language, right? Now, this is a very deep conversation.
But you agree with them 100%.
I agree with any works they're doing that helps black people. I support 100%.
Okay.
That's constructive.
With the works.
Of course.
Okay. And if those works are to constantly encourage black people to separate themselves from the rest of society, you support that? Because that's what I heard in a previous conversation, and you were there.
So, as a black betterment builder, whatever works to make black people's life improve, I support.
But what about the costs? Because there's always a cost-benefit analysis.
Well, then that's not improvement, is it? So if you gain one thing but you lose something, it's like if you gain a new hand but you lose your head.
So if we can expand on that.
Go ahead.
What's the benefit? Do you support separation?
So,
to put it as basically as it can
so
be.
the only separation I can speak of now is psychological separation. I support that 100%.
Psychological separation. And how would that manifest?
So there might be some people of African descent who have an inferior complex, right? And they look through the lens of a European and they have a subservient mindset. They need to separate from that concept. They need to look at the power within, and they need to see the value that comes from themselves and their culture.
Right.
That psychological separation is necessary. Yes.
Okay. No, that's interesting because that's for me is a good goal. By itself is a good goal.
Right.
Right. Although the angle that it seems to go on its path, I would say swings towards the negative. So if you want to, if we have a real conversation, I can actually justify it. I'm not trying to.
No, I'm saying yeah, and I'm saying okay. Yeah.
Right. So why not the value they have as individuals?
Yeah. So
rather than the collective.
Before you join any collective, you are an individual.
You're always an individual. It never leaves you.
No,
like talking to people, maybe you say they have an inferiority complex for some reason, or for these reasons, right?
Yes.
And you can work with them and eliminate that, because these type of complexes are not isolated towards a particular racial group.
Yeah, but
it's many things.
But my area of interest,
but your area is
because
okay, that's
the
fine.
solution is very particular.
I see. Okay, well, maybe so. So if you maybe not, but you see, you look at the people and you encourage them to manifest their own potentialities, like build themselves, better themselves, as you say.
Yes.
Why does that need to be done in the context or through the lens of race?
Why? Because, like I said, people who've been identified as black never historically went around and said, we're black, you're black, I'm white, and we're going to live by this way. It's because this narrative, has been forced upon, that it's necessary to use it to get back up.
If I don't live my life that way, if I don't perceive the world in that way, and maybe many people are coming to that.
You as a black person?
No, viewing people through race first.
Well,
if race exists, which is something else.
Yes, but the people in power who believe it exists.
People in power.
Yeah, people in power.
People in power.
Historical people in power.
Historical people. So people are not alive.
They might not be, but there are people who are maintaining the structure that has been set prior, hasn't it?
And to break that structure, it seems that you look at people as individuals and of equal value.
Here's what I'll say. What is negative about black people seeing the value of working on black issues with black people? What is negative?
When you say black issues,
yes,
that's the question. What is a specifically black issue that is presumably only for somebody who identifies as black, if you want to use that terminology?
Wanting to see better representation on media.
Yeah.
They want to see better black representation on media.
Okay.
There you go.
Do you not? You think there isn't? It seems to be
It-
relatively.
Well,
What about like the music scene here?
what about it?
We've got a large number of black people in.
Yeah, but so once again, we're talking about constructive representation or even a balance and the necessity of why it's important to have a balance. When you're underrepresented as a people group,
Should it be proportional to population size?
well, right now, I don't know how much positive black imagery I see. There's not,
Why does it need to be positive? Why can it not just be neutral? Because you see,
because
you
of the
see it in-
effects
right,
it has
you-
on the people group.
You see in it, right? If you go to the Tube or whatever, you look in a newspaper, you'll see adverts for a whole load of things.
Right.
They usually have a selection, a multiracial selection of people in it.
Okay.
And they're usually neutral. They're just like, wait, buy our product. So what's wrong with that? That seems fine.
Okay, if you like, that's fine.
No, but what's wrong with that from your perspective?
I don't remember saying anything was wrong with,
Okay,
with
so it's
having
good
adverts. If a black person is an advert getting paid, good for them. Right? That's great.
Nah, that's not what I mean. It's a representation of race in the public, which is what you're saying in the media.
Right,
It's
so-
a representation of race.
Well, I like to think that black people could do more than advertise products, but
That's clearly not what I'm saying, mate.
Right.
You're saying about the representation of minority or whatever black people within media.
So if-
right. So it's television, movies,
Yeah.
news, music.
Yeah.
They are represented.
yeah. So when you look at black, we're talking black as a whole. So there's so many nuances. So it could be like, there's a drive to get African-centered content. It might be a drive to get filming industries that do documentations on African history where people of African descent can actually get work because there's a movie supporting it. Do you know what I mean? It's a huge thing that grows. But right now, if there is no black movie business corporation, then there's no real value in making black-centered stuff. Therefore, if black people want to act in movies, they'll have to go to roles that were given to them. So they might have to play the sidekick role, or the funny black woman role, whatever it is that it is there, because the movie scene or the movie that's being made isn't centered around the needs of those people.
Okay.
There you go.
Let's see. Now, if I get you right, you're
Yes.
saying that you would like there to be a black-owned, black-run movie industry,
That'd be nice, yeah.
but made possible by the government.
No.
Well, then what's your issue? Make
Well-
one.
And how do we do it? We get together with people, we formulate ideas, and we do it. That's
Right. But part of the original point was that there's discrimination and racism against that, as in there's something stopping you from doing that. There isn't.
No, that's why we're doing it. The only thing that's stopping
Okay.
us is gentlemen who at the side go, why can't I join? Why can't I join? That kind of stuff. So this is the thing. Right now, in these groups, that's what we're doing.
I know. But for that point, he was. But
No, it's entertainment. Yeah. I'm a bad person. Yeah. Because you don't like being on camera because of how you portray yourself. When you're willing to be brave and come on here, then you can say, I'm not going to insult you, I'm not going to try to undermine you, but you're scared of the camera.
Listen, Ray,
So when you get...
for the sake of the camera, we're going to hold you accountable. For years,
Yeah, okay,
you have
carry
gone on and on,
Yes.
saying you have this committee platform
Yeah.
that's going to change the issues of black people,
Yeah.
and you have not wanted anyone non-black to be part of it.
Right.
So-
And 2 years ago, I thought,
Yeah.
wow, this is great. Go for it.
You need to talk louder so they can hear
But
you.
after 2 years,
Because right now, we're just standing still.
In hindsight, you have failed.
Yes.
So we are holding
Yes,
you accountable.
yeah, black people have failed. Okay, now
we're
carry
gonna-
on.
No, but you have.
Okay,
gonna
I have failed.
continue it,
Okay,
mate.
okay.
Nobody's stopping
So,
you.
so just for the people at home, there's a non-black person behind the camera who wanted to join a black betterment a collective, and he had the opportunity, but he still didn't want to join, and now he's complaining. Let's go. Go ahead.
okay, well, the digression is done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nation of Islam.
Yeah,
Again,
so-
I suppose because we worked out that point
Yeah.
there about this. And
So I
didn't
support
see
it. So
I didn't
I
see the discrimination.
Oh, you use discrimination what?
No, in the thing we talked about with media representation, I don't see the negative discrimination.
Sometimes things are the legacy of discrimination. Does that make sense, right? So I mean, just say you have an industry of just say people of European descent, and you dominate, and then in a past time, you do not let anyone else in, right? And then you train, and then what happens is through culturalization and so forth, people who are outside are not naturally geared towards thinking they can join that industry. So for example, if you ask a black person back in the olden days, what do you want to be when you're older? They would never say the president of
Right.
America because it was never seen,
Okay.
plus people disparage them, right? But then that becomes culturalized,
Yes.
right? And then they might see music videos where they think, all I want to be is a basketball player and a football player. So you need to take those people and re-educate them on how to process that kind of way of thinking.
Okay. Do you think that's not happening outside of your group? You think that people feel limited to predefined roles by historical legacy?
Yes.
Or because I've seen.
Yes.
It seems to me that people. Well, okay, we're talking about
My answer is
somebody's
yes.
personal feeling. The answer's yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to draw in.
Yep.
Doesn't seem so obvious to me.
Well, that's because you might not be focused on these issues, and you might not live in a shell where it might not actually resonate to you directly. As in, because you're living your own experience, and this might not be of a higher importance at the moment. But to someone like myself, it is.
Maybe visibility is better than importance. Not a fan of racism.
You don't like racism?
No.
Neither do I. I don't like it at all.
Right, cool.
Yeah.
So back to the Nation of Islam then. So
Right.
as I said, they talk about the white man being the devil, right?
Right.
And you didn't really want to comment there, but you agree with them. Do you agree with them on that?
So I was speaking to another European gentleman, a Muslim brother, and he was very emotional about this concept. And I said this: whenever someone says the white man is the devil, I have to step back. The reason is I don't subscribe to words like devil, angels, God. I understand the concept, and maybe if I'm rapping, I might use it as a metaphor. But in my day-to-day language, it actually doesn't mean anything to me. I'm underknowledged in this concept, right? So I can't understand. So what I say is, white supremacists are deceivers.
So you say the same thing with different words.
No, because I say white supremacists are deceivers, right? Meaning that if there's a white supremacist, one of their goals is to deceive so they can progress, right?
Would it be the same for a black supremacist? Would their goal be to deceive?
Well, technically yes, but because I look at things as words. So, for example, when we talk about white supremacy, God, the concept of God is supreme, meaning one God, right? And the concept of supremacy, it means one.
In certain line of thought.
Yeah, certain line of thought, right? So for me, you can only have one supreme. So I understand that white supremacy exists. It's real. So a black supremacy doesn't exist. It's more of like
Really?
sexy words. Yeah, sexy
Doesn't
words.
exist?
Oh no.
That's quite strange. I mean,
The longing for black supremacy might exist,
you say-
but the reality doesn't. So there cannot be a black
But
supremacist.
what is the reality? Is it not what you think within your mind? Because if you have the conception of
Right.
white supremacy in your own mind, or you have or black supremacy, surely it exists. Or do you mean it working in the world?
So,
what do you mean?
So as we sit today collectively, for whatever reason, people who have European descent, on a collective level, will have access to many more stuff, resources, progressional things, by the way the world is set today. There's going to be poor white people, rich Chinese people, rich black people, but generally, just as a collective concept, white supremacy works more in that way. So white supremacy is a reality from that notion.
So when you're saying white supremacy here, you're meaning access to services. You're not meaning an ideology of supremacy, like as in racial supremacy, intellectual supremacy. You're just meaning that they can go to university easier or something.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem so valid.
That's part of it, yeah, that's part of it.
Right. Do you think that white supremacy in the more intellectual form exists? When I say intellectual, I mean when people think about it as a concept that's legitimate,
Yeah,
which I don't think it is.
You might be separated from those people, but many people of European descent are white supremacists in the way they process stuff. And
Why is that?
maybe you could tell me. You might have more access to this information than myself.
Right, but could you look at it from the other perspective?
What is your perspective?
Well, where we previously mentioned black supremacy.
Right.
Could you not also be of that mindset yourself?
I'm a black supremacist.
Is it possible?
Mindset, I could think that black people are superior to white people. I might think that, but there is no system in place that will allow me to actually dominate white people collectively.
Ah, right. So the system is more important than the idea.
Well, here's what it is. The system is being held in place by people in power who believe in that idea.
So you say.
Yeah. As far as I see it, and I suspect many black people see the same.
So what do you make of do you think this country, because we'll talk about this country, do you think this country's made progress towards maybe eliminating racism or reducing the so-called effects of white supremacy? Do you think it's made progress in that?
I think there's some areas where it seems to be in a better light. Yeah, there's some progress. Yeah, some areas.
Seems radically different than like 50 years ago. Radically.
It depends on how you look at it, really, isn't it?
How? What's not radically better?
Well, what's not radically better?
Okay, well, you say it depends how you look at it.
Yeah, it depends how you look
so
at it.
How do you look at it?
Well, so for example, let's just go. If you go back, let's use America as an example, right?
I want to use here.
Okay, well, so
Because we're here.
So,
And your group is here.
so right now, you will see more black people on TV. So back in the old days, you would see less of them, and if they're there, it was more like particular kind of like trope roles and stuff like that, right? Now you see more.
Right.
Okay, so that could be seen as a form of improvement because
Do you think it's improvement?
Well, if those people are getting paid, then that's an improvement.
I hope they're getting paid.
You never know. I hope so, right? So that could be seen as an improvement. But then, how are they representing it on there? Could be a further improvement. That's what I'm saying. Like if you're seeing a consistent kind of role that is contributing to a mindset of how people view black people, then that isn't that. So even though there's more of them, but more of them do negative things isn't positive.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
So you have like a mammy role.
So
but you get 10 mammy roles. Yeah, it's not necessarily. Yes, they get 10 people getting paid, but they're not actually giving a different image to the world of how black people might interact in their day-to-day lives.
Right, sure. Okay. Now, to be logical and to be fair, if there's a representation of people as people are all the same, right? Because we're all human, right?
Not really, but yeah. Not people are not the same, but I understand.
Well, people are all human, right?
I hope so.
So people are the same. That's what I mean by that. I mean people are of
Human.
equal
People
worth.
are humans,
People
yes.
are equal worth. In terms of their innate. But this is my view. This is my metaphysical
I
view.
would like to believe that, but I don't see that being demonstrated. I don't think everyone is equal. No.
No. You miss. Maybe I'm not speaking clearly.
Yes.
I'm saying, from my personal view, I like to think that all humans have equal humanity. Like you should be treated the same under law. You shouldn't be discriminatory against people in this manner.
Right.
Obviously, when people develop and actualize in the world, they have different qualities, different shortcomings, and this is the not equal part.
Right.
I'm obviously talking about the metaphysical
Yeah.
part. So hopefully we would agree there.
Yeah, so I agree, that it would be nice if everyone was treated equal. I agree to this.
No, but do you agree with my first premise that they have the same
Yes, yeah.
the same humanity, the
Yes.
same worth?
Yeah, everyone. Just in the case of being a human, has the same worth, and how we act is in how we treat it, right? So you're born as, let's say, a free spirit, as in like on an equal level. Well, maybe not the situation you're born into,
Right.
Because you might be born into a very
tough
terrible
situation, yeah.
But just as a concept, everyone is equal in that sense. Yes.
Okay, that's good. Does that fit with the white devil ideology?
Well, I don't know because I don't say the white people are devil, do I?
No, but do you subscribe to that meaning? Because you rephrased it.
Say again.
You rephrased it.
Yeah, because I'm talking about white supremacists.
Right,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Right.
So it's not. Is it indicative of their race? Like, is it because they're white?
No, do you know what white supremacist is?
No, I'm an idiot. Inform me.
Okay, so if you're of European descent, right, and you identify as white, or identified as white, and you believe that you are superior to others, that is one of the first forms of white supremacy. Then how you act, as in you act upon that, meaning you will mistreat people based on their race, i.e., I am of European descent, so I'm superior to you, and I deserve more than you. These kind of concepts of white supremacy is what we call white supremacy.
Yeah, right. Cool.
Right.
Cool. And we also agree that this idea of supremacy can exist amongst all groups. Let's say groups, because forget about race.
Yeah.
There's groups, right?
Let me agree with you. Yeah, so I'm going to agree with you. Go ahead.
All right. Well, that's a relief.
There you go.
Because I've encountered people that refuse to agree on that.
Yeah, there's a black person or a Chinese person who believes that they are, because they are Chinese, superior to a Bangladeshi. Yeah, that exists. I'm sure.
Yeah. For sure.
Right.
All right. Cool. So
do I think white people are the devil? No, I rephrase things by saying white supremacists practice deception.
But when they
Are
say
deceivers.
the devil, they're not just talking about white supremacy. They're talking about spiritually.
And that-
they're spiritually created.
I wouldn't know, because remember when I started, I said I don't use terms like God, angel, these things, because these are personal words, isn't it? Because your God is different from my God, and his God, so we get nowhere.
No, but
so I don't give over.
But my conflict with it is only with. My conflict is primarily when you said you agree with them 100%. Because that's obviously.
Any black person, regardless. Listen, I hang around with people who do activities I don't agree with.
Yeah.
But if they say they're going to fix something, I will support it. So a lot of the people I work with, they might. Well, not a lot. There might be one person who's a drug dealer. I might not support that. There might be a person who carries guns and shoots people. I might not agree with that. Right? But if we're going to come together to fix a hospital or to fix a school, I'll do it. I won't discriminate against them because I don't agree with their
I see.
lifestyle.
That's an interesting
Very
point.
interesting.
Maybe we can follow that.
Go ahead.
Do you see any problems inherent in that methodology?
No.
So what about the drug dealer getting people addicted to drugs, getting people stabbed on the street and going to the hospital that he helped build?
Right, so right now, my job when I talk to people is to try to give them my perspective of life. Like I'm talking to you like over, right? And hopefully through close proximity, they can learn from my actions, right?
Right.
But right now, yes, I will work with a homosexual, a drug dealer, a religious person, a man in a wheelchair to do something constructive for the black community. And I try to train black people to do the same.
Right.
That's one of my goals.
Does it not seem internally inconsistent that you would have people that are doing actions that you could easily see as being against betterment,
Yes.
being
Yes.
of a negative nature?
Yes.
Why would you not encourage them not to do that, or would you not include them in your group?
Well-
Should you not include them? You should include people who are not doing that.
No. So, for example, you have to have a code of how you get together, right? If people violate that code. So right now, the idea is not everyone comes full up. By the way, I'm a drug dealer. By the way, I carry guns and shoot people,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Most people here might do the same. They wouldn't let them know, right?
Yeah, right.
But we can agree that when we're building this school, you can't shoot anyone and you can't sell drugs.
But you can after it's built.
Well, I wouldn't know that, would I?
It seems to me,
I would know.
I don't know if anyone else listening to this sees the inconsistency, but like,
What I don't understand what's inconsistent.
well, because you're not following a model standard.
No, it's like this. It's black people are one of the most divided people I've seen. You might not believe in groups, but I identify groups.
Right.
And it's,
Are you helping with that division though, right?
No, I'm helping you. You're not. You
mean
unify.
internally divided?
Yeah.
Okay.
Internally divided, right? It's so challenging, right? I make statements that black people are collectively the most inferior group ever, and I want people to challenge me on these logics, right? Now, my job is to unify black people, yeah, to work on betterment. So regardless if you're gay, straight, a Superman, or whatever it is, to come and work on constructive stuff. But you find black people in many different places: drug dealers, rich bankers, people who ride scooters, whatever.
Yeah, right.
So it's hard to manage them. So you have to have a code, a way of operating. That's why no emotion is what are we doing? We're building a bridge. I don't need to know if you're homosexual. I don't need to know if you've got 10 guns. Let's build the bridge. Because the bridge is going to help black people. Why? Because black people need help. Simple.
Does it not? It doesn't seem that it changes their mentality. It doesn't seem that would cause a change in their choice of activity, does it?
Well, one thing we try to do is we try to have a way of living that is most constructive, that we promote. And one of the best ways to promote is by living it, right? But I'm not everyone. I can't make a person, be something that they're not.
You don't encourage it though,
I do encourage it, of course I do.
but you don't prohibit it.
Well, if we're building a bridge, you can't shoot people, no.
But before and after you can, and it's no problem for you.
But I'm not with them. How would I know if they're shooting or not?
No, but you're aware of it being an occurrence because your focus is on black betterment, right?
Yes, right, yeah.
So you're fully aware of the problems that are at large, at
Yeah,
issue.
yeah.
So it seems to me to be more effective, it might be to make a strong stance against those actions and to not allow those people to participate. For example,
Yeah.
maybe there's more effective means.
Depends.
But it doesn't
Depends
seem
on the nature of the
morally
crime.
consistent.
Depends on the nature of if it's a crime, for example. If it's a behavioural pattern, no. So
Behaviour
I'm a
pattern.
vegetarian. What should I not go? I think that's the best way to go. Shall I ban meat?
No,
Oh,
not
so,
talking
so
about-
you have a division on what you think is important.
Well,
I'm saying,
okay,
yeah,
but I think
but I
it's-
might think that killing animals is really wrong.
You might
But-
do so.
Yeah, but what am I going to ban meat eaters from building a bridge? No.
Right. It's rather a weak connection.
I thought it's quite
because-
strong.
Really?
Yes.
So somebody out in the street shooting people is equivalent to veganism.
Well, if you talk to any I said vegetarian, but if you talk to a vegan,
Okay,
they'll tell you killing an animal is a crime similar to killing a human.
Oh, I know what they
Yeah.
say, and I
Alright.
don't really see it.
I know. But what I'm saying is, there's so many different ideas, and when we're talking about no vegan, no gay, no this, the bridge isn't being built. So someone like Raven comes up and goes, you can argue you want, here's the bridge, let's go build it. Because it's tangible. One of the challenges that black community have is we don't have anything tangible. We like talking in circles.
Yeah.
I'm the solution. What I'm pushing is the solution.
Right, to make and do practical things.
Yeah.
I support that. I mean, it has
It's
tangible,
practical. It's tangible and
benefits.
practical, yeah. You
But-
see the outcome, don't you?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
obviously a caveat in
Yeah.
my statement.
Yeah.
Is now. It doesn't seem to change mindset.
Well, depends, innit? Like, one of the things we're trying to do is have a code, innit? A universal way of operating, doing
So
things.
you are applying your morality.
Of course. But I'm not like this divine
of course not,
person
but you
who's
can-
like, you've got a gun, go.
Yeah, but you could collectively, more or less, decide what, because it's fairly obvious that certain types of crimes are highly negative in a society, in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
And those kind of things, you want to provide alternatives to that way of living.
Of course,
right?
I'm glad you said this. So the groups we're talking about, we do exactly that. We offer alternatives. So the people who are shooting people, quote unquote, they now have a shop,
Right.
or a basketball court, or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's good.
That's what we're doing. That's why when we have the gentleman who was on the side who was insulting and so forth, that's why he wouldn't be welcome. because his energy would just really destroy that. Because people like him are not genuine.
Well, I don't know about him. He's outside of this conversation.
Well, that's why he's disappeared. So what I'm saying, but like I said, just to make it more clear, I support the Nation of Islam 100% when they're doing constructive work. I support any black group who wants to help black people 100%. Has to.
No matter what else they say or do.
Well, I don't agree with negativity, but if they are in the works of doing something positive, I will be there. 100%. 100%.
Of course, again, but what about the negative things that they might do that might work against, presumably, your goal?
I have a word about it. Look, if you keep saying these words, you're allowing other people to infiltrate and destroy the movement. They're going to use that as an argument to undermine your good works.
I don't understand.
Okay.
Use what words?
So if you object into words, because we're talking about words at the moment, aren't we? We're talking about words. Someone that says something
I
that
thought
you
you
don't.
meant specifically some specific words.
Well, because when you talk about black groups, right, the most hurtful, dangerous thing black groups do is talk. Hands down. The Nation of Islam are not even allowed to own a weapon. They don't even have like a flick knife. Yeah.
Well, they're illegal, so yeah.
Okay. In America, where they form, you're allowed to have guns. They don't have guns.
Okay.
So,
fair.
So the most dangerous thing they've ever done is say words that's reacting to an experience. You see what I'm saying? I said, you know what? It might be true, it might not be true, but you know.
Could it also be applied just for a thought experiment? Could it also be applied that way around? That might give some justification to the guy who's outside of this conversation. His standpoint is like this. You're saying that it's the words that are resulting from previous actions that lead to the current circumstance that they want to separate or whatever like that.
Right.
I could also present the idea that groups of people saying, well, we don't want any help from white people might instill an idea of like, okay then, it might be another type of resentment. Might be a pushback.
See,
you understand? Seems logically consistent.
The words I use, I try to talk about non-black people as much as possible. As in, like, I feel that it contributes to anxiety because once you mention something, people go, oh, I mentioned, let me jump in there. So it would be there's a value in black people working on black issues, rather than you can't join it because you're not black.
So it seems that you've had negative experiences with white people trying to influence your group.
No, it's more black people.
How does that make sense?
Because many black people are subservient to non-black concepts. So if you say
what's a black concept?
Helping black people on black issues is a black concept. So if you try to get with certain black people, because they're so integrated in other ideas, they'll go, I'm never going to help black people because I love everybody, and then they don't help anyone, or
another reference.
No, this is a black person now. This is a black person.
Oh, right.
So that's the answer to your question.
More or less.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, so this separation that you want to enforce can have negative consequences from the rest of society, is what I'm trying to say. But you maybe don't care about that?
Well, I wouldn't care about it, but I don't think it does.
No?
No.
But it I mean, from the other guy with his rejection from his help, it has.
Yeah, but I don't know the history of people. There's no barriers in Speaker's Corner, so anyone can come here with any history. I don't know the history, but I'm saying for a person who doesn't know someone else to be so enthralled and so passionate and talk about stuff that he saw on the internet, I don't know. For all I know, this guy is an actor, and he's filming a documentary. I don't know.
Okay, but what about the idea that somebody has a moral principle that they want to, try and eliminate crime and try and reduce suffering, try and help people that are in a less economic situation?
They're lying. Do you know why they're lying?
Why are they lying?
Because if I wanted to do something, I would do it. I wouldn't go to someone else and go, let me join what you're doing. I'll do it.
Right.
And what I found with many...
It's unfortunately not consistent.
Oh, it's very consistent.
No, it won't be, with what I'm going to say.
Because
you said the biggest problem with the people that you work with is that they always talk together and they never do anything. So therefore they don't want to do something.
I made a distinction between black people and non-black people at this point.
But what's the difference?
Because we're talking about who can join and who can't join, that's why.
Nah, but you're saying, like, I understand where you're coming from, though, because people that talk too much and never do anything,
exactly.
You question their motivation.
Exactly.
No, of course I get you, but I'm trying to use it against you, because it will equally apply.
Okay,
right?
Good luck.
So, when you say the worst thing to do is talk together in circles and never get anything done, I could use your own logic and say, well, that's because they don't want to do it, which is not the case. It's maybe they don't have the stimulation. Right. Maybe you view that as your goal, to train people, to give them insight, to give them guidance, to give them a motivation. Maybe that could also be worked on with the rest of society.
Yeah, wouldn't be my primary goal. No. My primary goal would be focused on the people group who need the most help would be the blacks. So I would dedicate very little to any resources to anyone outside of that, because I don't feel they need help in the area of helping black people. I think black people need help in the area of helping black people, because the concept is training black people to help black people. That's
Right.
the concept.
And after they've helped each other,
Yes.
what do they do next? Do they integrate in society, or do they stay within their own wee group?
No, you can do what they want.
But your mindset has already indoctrinated them, you could say, that they should only work with black people or only help black people.
Well, there has to
No?
be a purpose behind what you're doing. So if the world was left untouched and people lived amongst themselves, there would be no need to fix. There would be no need to build. All right. My job is I've seen people at a certain level and they need to improve. I can't then go, well, what in the 10 years time where they've improved? And then they fly in the sky and they bomb. I don't know anything about it. I'm trying to improve the situation. That's all it is.
Right.
It's not that
but-
deep for me.
Well, my point was slightly different. It's like this: when they're helping each other,
Yes.
they're also part of society simultaneously.
Yeah.
It's not after 10 years.
And they will
it's
continue
now.
to help society. They will continue to help.
But they're encouraged not to,
Well, they're encouraged to fix black issues, aren't they?
primarily.
Well, if you are from a particular people group and you do not work on your own issues, then there has to be something fundamentally wrong with yourself. If you are going through an experience and you focus on other people's experience before yours, there has to be, and we find that out of all people groups, black people are the most subservient in this concept. That's why a black person, from what I've seen it, through training, is more like to help other people than themselves. There was a documentary in South
Have you
Africa.
done
Yes, there was a
you've
documentary
done
in
a
South
study on that?
Of course, because I'm black. Or identified as black. There was a people group in, there was a black collective in South Africa, right?
Right.
And what happens,
Go to
they
the park,
watch,
have a look at
they
things.
got a black people to watch poor
do it
South
here,
African
people are
whites.
talking.
And they asked the black people how they feel. He goes, my heart's broken.
It's not the place
I
for
can,
It's considered. It's not a place for that. Like go to the park.
yeah, I can
Let's
understand
just
black
kick a
people
football around when people are
being
filming and talking.
being poor, but to see white people being poor, this breaks my heart. This is something that was quite consistent, and because it's a psychological.
in South Africa.
Yeah, in South Africa.
Do you think it's the same here?
Well,
So different
I think it manifests in different ways. I think whether you like it or not, a lot of
It's quite a claim.
well, you would have to talk to black. Do you talk to black people about these issues?
I like to talk to people about deeper things, but yeah.
Oh, then you said it there. Then you don't know,
No, sure.
and I'm telling you because I know.
But you maybe not be 100% right.
Am I wrong,
or
black
true-
people? Is this the thing I'm saying? Yeah, so basically I'm saying that many black people we find here have been taught to be subservient, right? And to look down on themselves and look up on other people. So notice the non-black people don't know, but the black people know. And that's the value of working with black people, because we
Do you
know.
really think that was legitimate? That's not legitimate at all, man.
Okay.
That's
All right.
quite contemptible. Because you're using a couple of people that are observing a conversation as proof of your statement. And because
This is the first time you're hearing that black people have been
each
made
other.
subservient in
No,
society.
he said you've been raised to feel that you've been
Yeah.
raised to be subservient.
Yeah, I'm saying, but is
You
that
haven't been raised by your parents.
you know,
to be
could
subservient.
it be an aspect of like economic
Your mom
class?
and dad
Because
didn't raise you to be subservient.
what I
that
do
happens? But that's their point.
what I do have experience of is existing in poor environments, and you can see this mindset of negativity that leads to vicious cycles where people don't want to improve themselves. They bring each other down. They get into drugs and alcohol. This is very common in Scotland. So this experience there is a white experience, but it seems to be analogous to the black experience.
But do those white people look at other identified races as superior to themselves?
I don't know. But
You should ask that question.
But what they maybe you should, maybe it's irrelevant, because what I do see is that they look at people that, for example, play tennis or play golf or go to a university or do another job. They think of them as in another tier of them, that they're never reachable, and they stay within that trap.
Well, then you should form Scottish groups to fix that.
I'm not saying I should form any movement. I'm not advocating movements.
Well, if you don't, who will? Who's going to fix that issue?
I never said it was my goal to fix it.
Well, it's my goal to fix black issues.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's fine. So, just showing you that in Scotland there, for example, you got something I would say quite analogous to this.
Right.
Yeah.
So it might not be to do with race, it might be to do with the economic situation.
Some people might find that because of the history of racism,
That obviously will have an
you
effect. I
find
can't say it doesn't.
many
Well-
people of African descent struggling.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I'm not going to be ridiculous and say no. Of course, that has an effect. Sure. absolutely.
I mean, we
Just
know
saying,
we've got
my main, I suppose, contention, there's two contentions. One was about the nation of Islam.
I support them 100% in productive work.
And we've done that one, I suppose. And the other one is in maybe potentially more effective ways of doing what you're doing in light of the guy's objection to being rejected, etc.
Well, here's my goal.
And the groups.
You can help me. You can help me. I want to train black people to help black people, right?
Yeah.
So you can help me. I want to train black people to help black people and to actively look out to form ideologies and concepts that make black people dedicated to fixing black issues. What should we do? Go ahead.
Stop identifying with your group.
Right. So that might not work. But go ahead. That might not work. So that might not be a handy. That might not be that handy.
Because like you live somewhere, right? And
I do.
maybe the people around you, the people in your school, the people that you work with, they're probably highly unlikely to be racially homogenous, are they? You're going to have people of
Yes.
different groups within your neighborhood, right?
Yes, I suspect so.
And
yes.
you ignore them.
No, I won't. I never.
No, you're missing my point. I'm saying it would make more sense to me that
Has Yaya done his thing?
you're
Because
still playing here, eh?
He went somewhere else. man. Yeah, I swear. It started.
camera.
He read the thing, and a conversation happened, and then it went somewhere else.
I didn't even say I'm bad.
Yeah.
I should have been there for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. He went somewhere else, and
flipping hell.
then you get me. Tell her why. Yeah, so yeah.
Let me go talk to him. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see what's about today.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went into, because he said something about the war's not going to work for us, and then this brother just jumped in and said,
What?
we need to defend ourselves. So it went into a war versus
I should have been there. I
Yeah,
should have been
yeah.
at that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, so-
Hopefully next. We'll
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
it. Sorry, go ahead.
Right, so I'm saying about how just being with your one wee group is not practical in reality because you don't live with one wee group. You live within a collective of more people from different places, different races, which I wouldn't say is so important, but you're excluding them from your help when maybe they're facing the exact same issues because they live in the same area.
No, because it's a particular thing, innit? It's black people working on black issues.
Alright, cool. Well, I think we're done.
That's the truth. And if you came to me and you said you wanted to form a group on, I don't know what you identify as, or something it could be ex-soldiers, and
I'm not. I'm just
yeah.
proposing to you. I'm pointing out things that I see as logical inconsistencies
Yeah.
within your approach towards
Yeah.
betterment, so-called.
Right.
And you can say to me, well, you can point them out if you want. Don't
Yeah.
mind. That's fine.
Well, like I
but
said-
that was my purpose here.
For me, there's a high value in black people actively fixing black issues. It's a high value, and I suspect that being black, it makes more sense than if you're not black, it wouldn't necessarily make as much sense. I could be wrong in this, but I've noticed that even though there are black people who don't get this concept, there are many who do, and it resonates. And like, yes, through the life I've lived, this makes sense. I don't know why I haven't been doing it before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you might have a close black friend who you might talk to day, and he might be able to give you the inside scoop of why it might be beneficial. That you might not be able to get in a 10-minute clip from YouTube, from
Oh, and he might also have the view that characterizing yourself by race is not a good way of living.
Well, no,
he
it's-
might have that view.
Well, I'll leave with this analogy. Before you jump, I'll leave this analogy, right?
I'll leave you with one right after you.
It's talking about necessity. And I said, if me, you, and these guys are identified as the speaker corner crew, and we go, we're not, we're just spiritual beings, whatever, right? If people are coming to oppress us, it makes sense for us to work on a solution amongst ourselves, even though we don't identify as a speaker corner crew, because right, if we don't, our existence is going to be very troubled. And right now, I see collectively black people's existence as somewhat troubled in many different areas of activity, not just necessarily economics. There's
Yeah,
so
right.
much. And by doing this, it forms a tangible solution that you can observe. And the reason why it hasn't been done before is because everyone has practiced this universal kumbayism, which is good. But I've said that because black people have been placed at the bottom, anytime black people interact with other people groups, we find ourselves at the bottom. And that's why before I gave you the analogy about in America with the minority concept and this stuff like that.
Right. Well, you say it hasn't been effective, but I got to dispute that.
Oh, please do.
Given the progress you could say that's been made, like such as greater representation in media for one thing,
Yeah.
and you've also got, I don't know when these were instituted, but I imagine.
ball, bro.
Bro, that was weak.
There's a poor kick down.
Kick it far, nigga. Kick it far, nigga.
Go ahead.
Right. So better representation in media, maybe moving away from negative representations. For example, another one would be like laws against racist speech.
Right.
This is good to have, right? If people are using racially offensive speech out in the world, in the media, in books or whatever, it's a criminal offence. This is progress, right?
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, maybe.
Come on, man. That's not legitimate. That's not genuine. They're like, nah. It's not. Come on, it's progress.
Just
In many countries, you
way-
can say what you like,
like
and
I
it's
said,
not frowned upon. Here
listen,
it's illegal.
I think Malcolm X said something like
Aye.
progress. I think he said something like you stab a knife 7 inches in my back, you pull it out 3, and you say that's progress. So it kind of is, but for us, we go much more further. It's like it's good that you can't say nigger on TV, and it's good that when you watch an ad, there's a black woman holding a chocolate bar.
Yeah,
but
but-
for me, it's so much more greater, and it's what other communities seem to have that it's a necessity. So when I'm talking about having industry,
Okay,
only
well, let
factories-
me bring it to you.
Go
because
ahead.
the reason for me saying that, to bring it back to what I said,
Go ahead.
is that you were saying that the collective mentality, the kumbaya, you said,
Yes.
has not been effective. I'm
No.
going to try and show you that it has.
Right.
We can compare it to your method and see what you've been able to achieve. Maybe you haven't. I don't know. But I'm showing you what I have seen. So it has been effective. And then you just were like, well, it doesn't matter because it's this and this. Well, here's another one. So
Go
what
ahead.
about racism in football?
Right.
They tried really hard to eliminate that.
Oh, yes.
And it's been effective, so, as far as I see, right?
Okay.
And what about sure, it's a difficult thing to eliminate, but the fact that it's not socially condoned, it's illegal, like these are good things.
That's still 3 inches, though, isn't it? That's still 3 inches. It's
I don't agree with your objection.
Well, let me say this. This might make you feel. This might make you understand where I come from better. I'm more than happy, and I do, to make a black betterment group and then a kumbaya group. I'm happy to be part of both
Why? Why would you have both?
because black people need special, dedicated help.
Right. Well, my only objection then would be if it's at the expense of the greater group, then I'd be opposed.
Well, you have
If
to,
it's- if it's
you
not
have to
at the
identify where non-black people are being mistreated through black people working on the mistreatment that's been forced upon them by coming together to work on solutions. You have to be able to identify that.
I didn't really understand what you just said.
I'll go again. So you'll have to identify that when black people recognize there's a history of mistreatment and they're coming together to work on the legacy of that, how that is mistreating other groups. You'll have to define that.
Oh, I didn't say it was
Oh,
mistreating.
good, then,
I said-
then it's good. Then it's just...
You're not letting me finish my sentence.
Go ahead.
So, thank you for the privilege. No, I was saying. You're making me forget what I was saying.
It must be my smile. Go ahead.
It must be the strategy.
Yes.
Anyway, no, I was saying about if it's at the expense of the greater group, then
Right.
I would be opposed. And expense does not mean at the active detriment. It means if it's one over the other.
Okay,
You
well,
could have both working
Well,
simultaneously.
like I
Could
said,
you not?
okay, we have a group, and in the group we discuss black issues, and then that's on Monday. And on Tuesday you talk about how you can hug each other and become one, and how everyone's equal and humans are lovely. On Tuesday.
But that seems to have made more progress, though, given the examples that I mentioned.
No,
right?
no, the opposite. I think by trying to get youth and black youth to be Afrocentric or black-led, so every time they make content, it's from a black perspective. So if they make a song, it's something positive that people want to listen to, they can actually resonate. That's actually a good cultural contribution. If there's a director who makes a film, he makes a black film, so all the black actors can have work. If there's a book, they make a book, and the black people can read it and know about the history. These are all the benefits. Sadly, these things happen natural through other cultures because of how their structure set up. Because our culture, our structures have been so decimated, we have to go back and refix it. But you wouldn't know anything about that. So that's why today it's all new. But that's what we're dealing with.
See, I was with you up until that. You wouldn't know anything about that. You're revealing your resentment right there, man. Because I was with you, I was like, that makes sense.
So you know-
That makes sense. I understand that.
No.
It's like where you want people to represent the culture that has been
Hold on.
dismantled. I don't disagree. But then
It's
you're
not.
like,
It's not
but
disagreeing.
you don't know anything
No.
about that, mate.
No.
Nah, that's weak.
You have. Here's the proof. I asked black people a question, right? And they said yes. You said you didn't know. That's what I'm referring to.
Right.
That reality, and it's the reality of being black. I'm sorry, like as much
Because,
as
because a couple of people agree with you
black
here,
people, yes, black people.
that means it defines all people who happen to be black. That's a ridiculous
Well,
assertion.
that was a microcosm. Innit? It was just a small
Yeah,
representation.
a very convenient
Well,
microcosm.
if you want, we can put the camera on the brother's shoulders, yeah, and we can walk around and ask black people the same question, and I suspect more black people say yes.
Could that be from the narrative that you're spreading? Maybe they haven't heard another narrative.
Well, your narrative, and what is your narrative?
Maybe it's not my narrative. Maybe it's the
Well,
narrative of
I'm not going to
individualism.
say I'm not going to
of
say.
being an
I'm not going to say it's an
individual
arrogant angle, but I'm saying that black people experience something by being identified as black, and you, by not being black, will not experience that.
Maybe experience different things.
Yes.
Maybe
but-
negative things also.
Yes,
Who knows?
but then on Tuesday, me and
I
you
understand.
will work on that. But on Monday, I'll work on this.
Right. I don't see a problem with that,
Yeah.
as long as it's not at the detriment of the whole.
Well, if you feel that by me trying to help black people deal with the issues that was caused upon them is making you feel bad, you let me know.
no,
But
I don't see why. I'm just saying as long as it's not.
No, if you feel that you're not being oppressed by it, then it's cool then. You know what I mean? Like for me, it makes super sense, and the reason I speak on camera is to affect many black people to think this way.
Right, so you're trying to spread your ideology.
Of 110% with a 10% error margin, of course.
Right, that's clear.
I think it's very valuable.
Step around this way. I'm basically trying to angle the camera so you can step in.
All right.
Right, he's cinematographer.
We're almost. I think we're almost done, mate.
But I think we start. What's more important for me in this conversation is if you think I think a certain thing about you about something else, is to ask me.
No, well, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested about what we're talking about here.
No, because we started a different route, don't we? And that's why.
Well, there's different things to talk about, aren't there? There's
Okay.
one about personal interaction that's got nothing to do with ideology or philosophy.
Right, yeah.
And then there's ideology and philosophy, which is probably more interesting for people to watch.
Probably, yeah.
Or to talk about.
Yeah, but if we can talk about separate, if you don't want to talk about school. But just to conclude, if you can't define something that is negative that happened to someone else because...
No, I can.
What is that again? Just,
Okay, well, I didn't say it before, but I could.
you said
Well, I
that.
may have. But what it is that having a worldview that looks at yourself as being only oppressed and only having to associate with your own people first,
Right.
I could see that as being negative. Yeah, I could see that as working against betterment.
I say it's positive. It's funny how our minds work, isn't it?
It's funny.
It's funny how I will look at black people who've been identified as black and they're mistreated because of it, and the legacy finds them in a place where it's not the best, and then they realize there is a value in fixing what others have caused. That's how I see it.
No, you should fix it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe we're disagreeing on the method rather than the goal.
Oh yeah, and I understand that why non-black people will see a value in them being amongst black people in that process.
No, because maybe people want to view each other as people and not
Well,
as race.
I view you as a
maybe
person.
we've moved forward a little bit in time.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, well, I would say you can speak for yourself, man.
Yeah, maybe you have.
Maybe I have.
But the people...
Have you?
Well, like I said, I'm an individual before anything else, right?
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm an individual before anything else, and I'm not here to judge people by their race or anything like that. But I recognise by being identified as black and living in this black paradigm, there is many challenges, and if I, as a black person, don't do it, no one will. And everything else is just slow in progress. So when you have people, you tend to find that people only want to help you because you say they can't. That's what I find.
I could see that happen. I could
It's
see
all
that
psychological.
happening.
Like I said, if I was, like I said, how do I know? Because as an individual said, oh yeah, I wanted to join your group, but you didn't let me join, and he said my group was gang. I said, okay, but you can join gang, because gang isn't a race-based thing. But he didn't join gang, he just had criticisms of whatever he was talking about. So people like him...
Criticizing you personally.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know him from anyone. I don't know if he's got issues with life. I have no idea. I'd rather talk about his issues than me at that point, because he's not, and I don't like talking about people individually, but he represents a way people interact.
Should probably take it up with him
of course.
another time on the camera,
Yeah, of
because
course.
I'm not justifying.
But he doesn't want to
do
do
what he needs to do.
Yeah, but what he was saying was he wants to be a part of what I'm doing.
Fucking hell, man.
Hold
Bro, you're gonna hit the camera again, mate. It's not all right, mate.
the ball.
Here we go.
You're not getting the ball.
If you break this, you're gonna have to pay for
You're
it.
not getting the ball. You're not getting the ball. You've lost the ball. You'll get it when the park closes, isn't it? You're going.
You're old enough to understand. If you break the equipment, you're gonna have to pay for it to go.
Go on the grass. Go on the grass.
Go. No, it's not. But
Just
I
ask
have
them if they want to
I
touch it on the
can't
camera,
pay
mate.
for it. No, but the ball
Get it
did. You're
beforehand,
playing,
in
yeah?
advance.
Why are you playing? Okay, well tell your friends who don't understand English to go.
Are you Muslim?
Well, maybe that's a good conclusion, eh? I get the final word.
Disrespecting people's wishes. Why are they completely...
Yeah,
We gotta understand about that. Go over there. The ball just hit the camera. The ball just hit the camera. Y'all don't understand this?
They can be... You're being completely disrespectful.
What are y'all?
You need to move it. You Muslim?
Then
Then behave yourself.
Unless you got money.
No, but if you're Muslim,
I
then
thought you
move.
played football on grass.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting. I was gonna open up.
Let's get all the views.
Call over there. What's just standing
the
up
bloody
for
park.
I would do something. Don't be fake.
Don't know if that's
I'm
helping.
just making your life hard.
I'm just kicking the ball.
Come take over everything from your Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. Listen. COE. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. I don't even listen to Sky YG. I just listen to COE. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. I don't even listen
America
to Sky
doesn't go to any part of the world. Americans are always independent.